Hello and welcome back to Planet 40k, where we cover unit reviews from the 40k universe. Today I thought we'd get stuck into the most iconic unit of the Necron Codex, the Necron Warriors. So before we do guys, there's still 60% of you watching the videos that have yet to subscribe. So if you are one of those 60%, then please hit that red subscribe button below. That way you get all of our content appearing in your subs box as well as your home pages. We're currently smashing out free content every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5:15 PM UK time, and we do mix it up with the factions, video to video. So thanks everyone if you're doing that now, and also a big thanks to our current subscribers. Okay, so now back to the video. So the Necron Warriors then, they've got a nice model from the box set not too long ago. So GW have gotten rid of those plastic green rods that used to bend out of shape. Also the model shape has seen a real cool improvement with the zombie-like stances that they all now have. Like broken machinery sort of dragging their way across the battlefield. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so these guys can fit into any dynasty, and it's quite rare that you'll make a list without them. They're a core foundation of any Necron build. Speaking of core, they've got the core keyword, which is going to really aid you with those HQ buffs. And then finally, of course, they're an infantry unit. So in terms of cost, they're 13 points per model, or 6 power level for a unit of 10. Any more than 10, then it's going to cost you 12 power. So their stat line is movement 5-inch, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 1, attacks 1, leadership 10, and a 4+ save. So pretty standard there, nothing really leaps out at me. Of course the leadership 10 is great, but that's army wide. So they come with command protocols, which is your army wide buff each battle round. You select the order of command protocols pre-game, and then in each turn you get to choose between 2 directives that go for your entire army to benefit from, providing that they're within 6 inches of a character unit and that there's a noble on the table. So your overlords and your named characters are the ones that have the noble keyword. The next 2 abilities join as one almost. So they've got reanimation protocols, which is after an enemy unit has made all of its attacks, you count up all the dead models, add up all their wounds from their basic stat line, turn that figure into a number of dice. So for example, if 15 warriors die in a given attack, they're all 1 wound apiece, so you're going to have 15 dice in your hand. You then roll all those dice, and any 5+ rolls will allow you to reset them back up on the battlefield. And they don't need to be set up in the exact same spot that they died in, so you can abuse the roll and gain a bit of movement as long as you're in unit coherency of the models that were not slain. So to add to this ability, they've got their numbers is Legion. So this is where warriors can reroll rolls of 1 for the reanimation protocols roll. So effectively you're a 5+ roll and you're re-rolling 1s to get guys back up again. So warriors have 2 weapon loadouts to select from, which are both free. The first is your classic Gorse Flayer, which is a 24-inch range rapid fire 1, strength 4, -1 AP and 1 damage. Really good for firing at mid-range and slowly marching towards other objectives in the centre of the board. The -1 AP is also a nice touch too. So a quick bit of maths for you for a max unit of 20 warriors. If you're going to fire within rapid fire range, you're going to get 40 shots off. You're at ballistic skill 3, so on average you're going to round that up to about 27 hits. Versus toughness 3, you're going to require 3s to wound, so approximately you're going to get 18 wounds off there. Versus toughness 4, you need in 4s, so you're going to get approximately 13 or 14 wounds there. And then firing at toughness 5, 6 or 7 units, you're going to need 5s, so about 9 on average there. Going against toughness 8 and beyond, you're going to need 6s, so only about 4 or 5 on average there. Probably a bit of a waste on that one. So with that -1 AP, you're really presenting a problem with standard infantry models. I mean, even Marines go down to a 4+ save and will take approximately 7 wounds for it. So really reliable shooting with this weapon. And of course, if you're not in rapid fire range, then you simply half all of the above to get your results. So the second option are Gorse Reapers, which are range 12-inch, assault 2, strength 5 and -2 AP with single damage. So you're trading the range for a stronger weapon. Now of course, if you fire the previous gun at rapid fire range, it ends up being the same range of 12. But the previous weapon has the advantage of firing single shots right up to 24 inches. However, with this weapon, that -2 AP really starts to get good, especially when you start putting extra buffs on them with other parts of the book, which we'll go over later in the video. So as this weapon is 2 shots each, it's going to hit the same amount of times as the previous weapon, which is going to be 27 hits on average. So this time going against toughness 3 and 4 requires 3s to wound, giving you approximately 18 wounds. Going against toughness 5 will require 4s to wound, giving you about 13 or 14 on average there. And then going against toughness 6 right up to toughness 9, you're going to need 5s, giving you about 9 on average there. So this weapon adds to the effectiveness of going against those standard toughness 4 infantry units, as now you're getting 18 wounds off on regular Space Marines as opposed to 13 with the Gorse Flayers. And don't forget that the -2 AP we spoke of was putting Marines down to a 5+ save, so they're only going to be able to save a third of those, which will cause about 12 wounds to go through. So that's the trade-off with the weapon in a nutshell. You do get to take shots outside of 12-inch with a weaker weapon, but once you're in that 12-inch range, you're doing some real damage. So let's talk about things to improve the Warriors even further. We want to be getting the absolute best out of these guys, as we know they'll be sticking around for quite a long time due to their awesome reanimation abilities. So firstly I want to talk about synergy with buffing characters. So any Overlord or Noble model within the book should have the My Will Be Done ability, which is really key for Warriors as it gives them a +1 to all their hit rolls due to them being a core unit. So now they're going to be hitting on 2s. So this turns those 27 hits on average into about 34 hits now. So you're looking at taking down enemy units with sheer amount of firepower. The My Will Be Done ability also assists with a second thing, which is if you do opt for the Reapers, then you can advance and still fire as it's an assault weapon. And of course, when you advance and fire an assault weapon, it's a -1 to hit. But if you're using the My Will Be Done ability on them, then effectively it cancels that out. So you're still getting your 27 hits on average there, even though you've gained up to an additional 6 inches of movement due to the advancing. The Overlords and Nobles also give an additional 1 inch movement too with their Relentless March aura, again as your warriors are core, so that's getting them even closer to their targets. The third and probably the most important piece of synergy you're going to be doing with your Overlords is giving them a Resurrection Orb. It's 30 points, but it's going to be crucial for your survivability within the game. So the Resurrection Orb enacts the Reanimation Protocols rule on your own command phase, but it works on all the dead models within the unit. So you can take a 20-man unit and go as low as having 1 single model remaining in the unit. You can pop this orb in your turn and you can roll 19 dice, and then any 5s or 6s are going to get guys back up again. On average that's about 6 or 7 warriors standing back up. Now warriors are 13 points each, so you're talking about 91 points worth of core troops getting back up for the sake of 30 points buying the orb. Even if you roll terribly and roll only say 3 5-ups out of the 19 dice, you're still making more points back than the 30 spent. So don't leave this orb at home, guys. To add to this even further, there is a relic called Orb of Eternity, which you swap this out for your Resurrection Orb. It works in the exact same manner, except now it's on a roll of a 4+ instead of a 5+ to get guys back up again. So on average half of the dead models are now going to stand up, so it's going to get you about 9 or 10 models back up if you've only got 1 left. And also with both of these orbs, don't forget warriors reroll 1s to reanimation protocols. So it's only a few extra guys, but if you're really heavily relying on warriors, then it's not a bad option, but it will cost you a relic slot. Now you can also do a similar rule with a Canoptic Reanimator, but I'd highly recommend avoiding it at all costs. I'll leave a link in the top right of the video now if you want to check their review out. I do go into a bit of a mini rant as to why. So staying with the Overlords and other HQ options to synergize, there's a fan favourite in the relics area of the book called the Veil of Darkness. Mega powerful relic here. It's a once per battle item equipped to a non-named character unit. So in your movement phase you select the bearer plus a core unit within 3 inches of the bearer, i.e. your warriors. Then you remove both units from the battlefield and then set them up anywhere on the table as long as they're more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So that 12-inch range weapon that you had a slight problem with earlier, don't worry about it. The Veil of Darkness will get you to where you want to be positionally within the game. Now the slight drawback here is a 20-man warrior blob and a HQ model will have a fairly big footprint, then add that 9-inch radius around them. So your opponent will be trying to screen off areas of the board to prevent you from doing it. But even if you don't use it early, it still makes your opponent have to play quite defensively, so they're not going to be attacking your backlines. It also doesn't have to be used with warriors, of course. I mean, that could be the bait you set. You could just teleport a min unit of Lich Guard over, so it's quite a tactical piece of kit. A Chronomancer will also help your warriors with their Chronometron, which gives you a reroll to your charge rolls, but more importantly a 5+ invuln save to all your warriors. So that's a huge bit of resiliency for your warriors there. A few other units in the game that will get warriors back. So firstly the Technomancer has Rites of Reanimation, which will get you D3 warriors back per turn. You don't need to roll for it, it just comes as it is. Illuminazaraz also has the ability, in fact he's got his own buffing rules to give a core unit one of the following. So he can either give +1 to their strength, +1 to their toughness, or +1 to their ballistic skill. Each one of these has their own different uses, of course. A Ghost Ark also does something similar. It gets guys back with the Repair Barge, D3 a turn. I mean, I love the Ghost Ark models, I just don't believe they were that competitive last edition. But now that Cryptex have lost their +1 to reanimation, we may start seeing people bring these to the tabletop again. We'll have to wait and see. So I want to talk about Dynasty codes now. as there's some really strong ones in the book that'll aid your warriors. So the obvious go-to dynasty is the Mefrit Dynasty Code, giving you a +3 inch to your range weapons, making your Reapers go up to 15 inch range and your Flayers go up to a 27 inch range. They also add an additional -1 AP modifier if you fire within half range, so now your Reapers will be at a -3 AP, which is going to put regular Marines on a 6+ armor save. Very reliable to remove models from the board. The Mefrit Code have also got a stratagem called Talent for Annihilation, which is 1 CP, so any 6s to wound will cause a mortal wound on top of the damage to a maximum of 3 wounds. Not sure how I feel about that one because it's capped at 3 wounds. I would like to see it not capped, but it is what it is. The Mefrit Dynasty, another one that really helps here, gives your army a 6+ in-1 save. It also gives you an auto 6 inch to advance. So if you're choosing those Reapers, then advancing and shooting could be quite handy. And the advance can actually be done through models and terrain, quite like Wraiths. This dynasty has a unique stratagem called Translocation Crypt. So for 1 CP you can virtually deep strike a unit of warriors in. A nice little combo is to deep strike your warriors into a location and also have a Cryptek with the Dimensional Sanctum also deep strike in, but give the Cryptek the Veil of Darkness relic, which we've already previously mentioned, where you can relocate warriors for a second time in the game. The Nihilite Code is also strong, giving you an army-wide objective secured, and any unit that already has objective secured, i.e. your warriors, will count as 2 models while contesting objectives. They also shrug off -1 AP weapons to 0 AP weapons if they're wholly within their own deployment zone, so even more resiliency there. Their unique stratagem for 1 CP allows your warriors to perform an action while shooting, so it's really handy for your secondary objectives. The Novak Code is an interesting one. At a glance you might skim over this dynasty as it's more geared towards combat orientated units, but there is a few tricks that can be done here. Now I did already mention this in a recent video with Anrak the Traveller. I'll leave another little clicky in the top right for you if you haven't seen that one. In fact, I should shout this person out. I think it was Mike G that made me aware of this little combo, so shout out to Mike G. So the Novak Code, you can add 1 to your unit's charge rolls, so that's good. You also get an additional -1 AP if you charge, were charged or heroically intervene. Okay, that's also good. So now for the combo. So Anrak the Traveller or any noble will give your warriors a +1 to hit with their My Will Be Done. It's better that it's Anrak as he also gives you an additional attack. So now it will basically mean your warriors are hitting on 2s. The Novak stratagem Blood Rites gives you an additional attack per model for 1 CP. So with this stratagem and Anrak the Traveller combined, you're now at 3 attacks per warrior. You then add another stratagem called Disruption Fields, giving your core units a +1 to their strength. So to summarise, in case you lost track of what the warriors now have, they're now at 3 attacks each, hitting on 2s at strength 5 and -1 AP. So a full unit of 20 warriors is going to have 60 attacks. So if you want to take this further, you can add a Royal Warden to get you out of combat in your turn to shoot and then recharge in. So moving on to the Sautek Dynasty, probably my preferred dynasty, but by no means the best one there. They allow you to reroll morale and also allow your rapid fire flayers to double tap at 18 inch range rather than 12 inch. So if you want them a bit further back, then you can still be firing fully, so that's the way to go for Sautek. Their dynasty unique stratagem is called Methodical Destruction, probably my personal favourite in the book here. So it lets 1 Sautek unit tag an enemy unit, so for the rest of the Sautek units in your army, they're going to gain a +1 to their hits roll against that targeted unit. So it's something else to make your warriors hit on 2s. So some noteworthy mentions from the custom dynasty codes, in case you wanted to go custom. Eternal Conquerors to get that double model count with the objective secured. Immovable Phalanx if you plan on keeping your warriors stationary, it will give them a 3+ armor save. Pitiless Hunters, which is like Bolter Discipline. If you remain stationary, you can fire at double shots, even at 24 inch range. Then from the second list, Healthy Paranoia, giving a +3 to your range of your weapons. Isolationist, which is a +1 strength to your ranged weapons if fired within 12 inches. This only works with your rapid fire options, so your flayers. Relentless Expansionist, which is pretty good for your warriors, as you get a 6 inch move after deployment, so it can get you either into cover or just into a better range for your weapons. If I was to go custom, I'd probably select the Eternal Conquerors along with a Relentless Expansionist, as I'd want to be going forward with my Reapers. I know that's not very Sautek-like, but I do love that weapon. So to summarise, the Necron Warriors, extremely resilient. They benefit hugely from reanimation protocols due to being 1 wound a pop. Quite nicely priced as well at 13 points a model. They do a lot of damage in numbers and synergise really nicely with a lot of different units in the Codex. They've also got the core keyword too, which does help with that synergy as well. Morale is less of a drama in 9th edition, so even if you do fail leadership, then only one is going to flee, then 1/6 of the remaining guys on average will die. So it's not the end of the world. Blast, however, now has become a bit of a nuisance, now giving your opponent the max hits virtually against your warriors every time. But again, it's okay. Your unit is tough and it keeps standing back up, and even if you're getting low on models, pop that resurrection orb and start over. The great thing about this unit is they fit into any playstyle and any Dynasty code. Even if you're playing against the complete opposite of what they're meant for, like the Novak code, they can still do it. So today I'm going to be giving the Necron Warriors a Planet 40k rating of 5 out of 5. I can't complain about them. Cheap, resilient, point scoring units that do tons of hard work for your shooting. Their only real competition in the book is the Immortals, but they can only come in max units of 10 and they're 4 points extra per model. They are tougher and have better weapons of course, but reanimation protocols on a 10-man unit isn't as effective, and also some of the HQ abilities such as rites of reanimation don't give D3 models back like they do with warriors. That's not to say Immortals are bad, they aren't bad by any means, but I think warriors just win that fight hands down. So let me know what you think of the ratings in the comments, guys. Do you agree with it? Also remember to subscribe, as we're now looking to hit 2,500 subs by Christmas. Please remember to like the video on the way out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.